This weekend is Halloween, so this week is a special Dan K show. We've got frightening stats, haunted segments, and two hosts in ridiculous clothing.
And it's all coming at you right now. Folks, hold on one second. Before we do our three things, let me just take a quick phone call. Hey, I got to call you right back. I got some monkeying around to do on a Dan K show. Folks, I got my three things, and they're coming up right now. If you can't hear me, it's because I'm dressed as Lena's Harambe. That's what I am this year. I'm her Harambe, and she's my Harambe right back, and we're bays. So, number one, it's a whale of a time in USP3. That's the Jersey Shore Whalers, who were 10-3-2. With 22 points on the year. They're in first place in the USP3 North. Hey, that's thing number one. Jersey Shore coming at you. Number two, the USP3 Florida Junior Blades. They're 15-0-0. They are undefeated, Lucas. They're as good as they get. And you know who else is as good as he gets? That's Tyler O'Mara with 9 goals, 13 assists, and 22 total points. He's got 3 game winners as well. They also have 2 goaltenders who are 15-0 combined with a 1 goals against average. Third, Lucas, my third and final thing, Islanders Hockey Club led by Sean Tremblay. They're going streaking. And not the kind from Frank the Tank in Old School, but the kind where you win and you win and you win no matter what. That's 8 wins for the Islanders Hockey Club in a row, including a 2-game sweep of the Boston Junior Bruins. Pretty exciting stuff going around the USPHL.
And now that leads us right into our next segment, Crash the Net. Dan has 1 minute to give us all scores and updates from around the league. Are you ready, Dan? Don't care. Starting now.
Wait, I'm doing it in the monkey mask? Let me get this off so I can get my chin ready and get myself back into Dan K show form. He started the clock in the premiere. The Picks and the Kings, they split a 2-game series. The Kings win in OT 2-1, but the Picks win the second game 3-2. The Syracuse Stars beat the Connecticut Junior Rangers in a close one, but it was 4-3. Tough for me to say. Syracuse scores 3 in the third with Jake Mayette scoring 2 in the game. In the Elite, the Rochester Monarchs reign supreme and drop 1 to the PAL Junior Islanders 3-2 in a shootout. But they win the second game. That's how they were reigning supreme. I jumped the gun there a little bit too early. 3-2. The Battle of the Shores is that Stadell's Ducks beating the Chicago Cougars 3-1. Wyatt Nielsen scores a power play goal. USP3, Hampton Roads Whalers beat the Richmond Generals 4-3 in OT. The Ironwood Youpers beat Motor City 4-3. Dayton Racers raced by the Juniors 6-3. And the Charlotte rushed by rushed by. Nice job, Lucas. Lucas did the writing there. Atlanta Junior Knights 5-0. And Lucas needs to stop trying to write me zingers. They are awful. 18U, New Jersey Rockets beat him in 3-2. Slice Academy 2-0 over the Jersey Rockets. Wow. Connor Ball with 2 goals in that game, Lucas. I had to get that monkey mask off. I can't even explain to you the amount of degrees that were under that mask, Lucas. It's tough. It's a lot of monkey business going on under that suit.
Well, you know, Dan, you did a really good job as a monkey. I always knew you had the brains for it.
Ooh, Lucas. Another great joke from Lucas. Another strong start to the Dan K show. We got more coming at you right now.
All right, well, next up, we've got a little bit of a follow-up for you guys. Last week, we called a game of the week, a game we were really interested to see. It was that 18U game, the Junior Bruins against the South Shore Kings. There was the possibility of a little bit of a challenge going up there. South Shore Kings could have climbed in the standings. The follow-up is that the South Shore Kings dropped 2 to the Bruins. One game they lost 6-2, and the other game they lost 10-1. So, Dan, clearly there's an offensive assault happening in Boston for the Boston Junior Bruins. Run us through that assault a little bit.
Well, I mean, this is the kind of game you look at both of these games where it was just a Boston Bruins offense that was clicking on all cylinders. The puck movement was great. The puck stayed on one side of the ice. The ice was real tilted. You know, the Bruins were keeping the puck in the King zone. They were not letting him escape, keeping him on long shifts, tiring him out. And that's what led to this offensive onslaught, as you put it. You know, it's a game where these teams could play each other 10 times, and they could split 5-5. But on this weekend, it was coming up all Bruins. And this was a team that really put the pressure on. One of the guys that really stood out for me and has stood out all year is Matt Gold. And he's got a lot of goals. And he's been golden for him. And he's got 11 goals and 11 assists, Lucas. Was there someone who stood out to you on this team so far?
Yeah, Joshua Vertentis,
Yeah.
who actually is going to be making another appearance on the USPHL website in an article this week. He had 10 goals and 9 assists in 8 games, which is extremely impressive. He's had a frightening start.
Yep, and this is a team that the Boston Junior Bruins, they're now 8-2 on the year. They find themselves in first place in this North Division. They are ready and raring to go. The CP Dynamo right behind them, catching up, nipping on their tails, but a big 2-game sweep of the South Shore Kings is going to put a little bit of distance in front of them. And this is a Bruins team, Lucas. Do you think they have it in them to keep this run going, stay in that first place slot? Do you think this is the best team in that 18U division?
Well, that's a big statement, Dan. You know, from what I'm seeing right now, I'm going to have to go with yes. I mean, let me run you through a couple of statistics here as Dan completely clears away my statistics
I went away.
page.
You know, we use the same computer. I like to use one thing. He likes to use the other. Sometimes we don't know how to share.
So they've got just under 50% of their goals scored in the third period alone. They have a goals for to goals against ratio of 2.5 to 1, a 22.7% power play goal success rate, and .911 save percentage. Those are numbers that at this point of the season are too good to be ignored.
And you want someone to put it in the layman's terms for you. I know Lucas likes his stats. He likes his sabermetrics when it comes to baseball. He likes to think it through. You want me to put it in the layman's terms? This is a team that knows how to close a game out. They're going to score late. And what third period goal percentage shows and what the high percentage of their goals coming late in game shows is exactly what we talked about in this Kings series. They keep the puck in your end. They keep you on long shifts. They tire you out. And they beat you late. And that's what they do. And those are the teams that win championships. Those are the teams who give people trouble nationally. And this is a team that is really, right now, the shining light in this 18U division. And I'm real excited to watch them. I can't wait to watch them play the CP Dynamo team, because that's another team who we'll be talking about in a few weeks and really digging into. Lucas and I, we're going to the Beantown. How excited are you to watch this type of talent at the 18U level?
Very excited. You know, I love hockey. I love junior hockey, and there's nothing I love more than seeing really competitive junior hockey, especially up in Marlborough, Massachusetts.
We're going to be heading up to Marlborough, Mass. this weekend. You better be there. You better be watching. If you can't make it, watch the Dan K Show when it's released next week, just like you're watching this week's episode. Lucas, what's on tap next for us?
Well, we got a couple of things coming up, Dan. One of them is to explore some of the USPHL content, the written articles that are coming out this week. And then we get a little bit of surprise for you at the end, so make sure you stick around.
We always have surprises, much like my monkey costume and the banana phone.
And now that we're back in costume, it's just as good a time as any to introduce our next segment, which is going to be Halloween-themed as well. So, the USPHL website has been Halloween-themed all week, with a whole bunch of spooky and scary articles. The article that we're going to be talking about, though, is the most feared player in the USPHL. Are you finished with your phone call now?
Yes, it was Monkey Business Incorporated again. They were calling me just about things have been bananas in the office lately.
Yeah.
Real bananas.
Things getting a bit hairy around there?
Things are getting a little hairy. You know what I mean? There's a few bugs in the works, but we were able to pick them out and eat them.
Well, that's good. So what we're going to do, Dan, is we're going to talk about one player on this list that really stood out to you, but then, as always, we're going to try to talk about somebody that may not have made the list, but we thought should have.
That's it, Lucas. We're going to talk about all of these most feared players, and I'm going to start off with the Islanders Hockey Club Premier because I talked about it in my opening. They've won 8 straight games, and it's been a lot due to these 3. Austin Lemieux, I think we remember that last name from somewhere, right? A little bit of lineage in that family, hockey lineage. Matt Thompson and Lucas Michaud of the Flying Michauds. He has a brother there, Sam Michaud, who was tearing it up with the Portland Junior Pirates a few years back. And you know what? These 3 have been offensive demons, to use a little bit of a Halloween word right there. And they have been scoring nonstop. Lemieux and Michaud and Thompson, they are putting on a Michaud for everybody. It's not a horror show. It's a real good show. And this is an offensive attack that I can get behind, and it's fun to watch. If you can turn on fasthockey.com and watch a game or get out to one of these showcases, these 3 are must-see TV and must-see hockey.
And you know, Dan, the next one on the list is actually Josh Vertentis from the Boston Junior Bruins 18U, who we talked about earlier in the episode. You know, he's a guy that only through a couple of games, I think through 8 games, has amassed 19 points. Somebody that definitely goalies will have fear stricken into their hearts when they see him bearing down on them.
You know what, Lucas? And I am fearing that, we talked about it. We're not going to run through every single name on this list.
No.
I'm gonna skip a few here. I'm going to skip down a couple, and I'm going to go right on to Clark Kerner and Joey Baez of the Skipjacks Hockey Club 16U team. You know, if anybody wonders why the Skipjacks 16U team has had a monstrous start to the season, which they seem to do every year because of how good the Skipjacks team is, look no further than Clark Kerner and Joey Baez. These two have torn it up. Kerner leads the league with goals with 11, and Baez sits in second with 8 goals. These two have dominated, 19 goals between the two of them. We are just a month into the season. A lot more scoring to come from Baez and Kerner. I'm shaking in my boots, much like Ryan Merritt of the Cleveland Indians was told to have been doing by Joey Bats.
And just to round out this list before we move on to our picks, I'm going to go ahead and say Austin Rook from the South Shore Kings Premier. Everybody knows I have a soft spot for SSK, especially in the Premier Division. I talked about them a lot last year.
Right.
But Austin Rook, he's a 6'2", 205-pound monster on the Kings blue line. And not only is he one of the top division point getters and assist guys, but he's got really good play behind the net. He's a guy that when you see him, it's already too late.
You know what, Lucas? You like chess too, right?
I love chess.
Is that why you like Austin Rook?
I mean, I wasn't going to be that upfront about it, but yeah.
I like Austin Rook too, but you know who I like even more that we have not talked about at all here, Lucas, that we add to, you know, we have our list here, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many great players in this league. Here's a guy who I think was left off of that most feared players list. The Florida Junior Blades are 15-0 in USP3. Dominating, right? 80 goals for, 17 goals against, and a main factor in that is goaltender Fabio Meyer. Number one, when you have a name like Fabio, you know that you're going to have that flow going. I don't know if Fabio's got the flow. If you don't, you better be growing it, Fabio. I want to see it. But Fabio Meyer, this kid is 8-0. He's got 169 saves. It's not an easy 8-0. This is a guy who's working in the crease to stop every single puck shot at him. He's allowed just 7 goals. Just 7 goals. He stopped 169 of 176 shots. He's got 2 shutouts, a 96% save percentage, and he's got an 0.88 goals against average. Lucas and I have made the joke a million times, when you give up less than a goal, you're not going to lose, and you don't lose when you have Fabio Meyer between the pipes. This guy's taken over Jared Young's role as the go-to guy in the USP3 between the pipes. This is the new goaltender of the year candidate. In my mind, I think this guy's the front runner. He's going to run away with it.
And that's a great pick. I mean, and you know I love defense just as much as the next guy. We've been over that a million times. But I went somebody offensive. And, you know, I've kept a close eye on the USP3 this year because there's a lot of action happening down there. So I'm going to have to go USP3, Kalkaska Rhinos, Sean Sharippa. 10 games played. He's got 26 points. 2.6 points a game. He's got 9 goals. But what I love even more about Sean, 17 assists. He is everywhere.
Yes.
He cannot be stopped. He cannot be kept track of. He is feeding the puck to players. And then when that fails, well, he just puts the puck in net, no problem. I guess the only downside, maybe I should say maybe why he didn't make the list is because we still don't know where Kalkaska is.
We don't know where Kalkaska is, but you want to know, I'm going to make a bold prediction today.
Go for it.
You want to know what I think is going to happen, what we are going to see down the road here?
I want to know what you think.
I think we're going to see a Sean Sharippa versus Fabio Meyer matchup when we get to playoff time. I think these two are going to meet each other in Massachusetts in the big one, playing at the USP3 level. Watch out for Fabio Meyer taking on Sean Sharippa. I almost called him Steve Sharippa. He was a star of The Sopranos. Sorry, Sean. That would have been a rough one. But you know what? You're playing for the Rhinos. You're battling. You got Coach Oliwa up there who knows what he's doing. He knows his stuff, and he's got the Kalkaska Rhinos going in the right direction. We can't wait to watch what happens next with Sean Sharippa. And Lucas, it's time to move into what has been my favorite division to watch this year in the USPHL, and that is the USP3. You agree with me on this. You wrote something, you put something together, you said, Dan, we got to get these teams on the show. We got to get these guys on the show. All the divisions are playing great hockey, and this might be the best hockey to watch right now. Lucas, talk to me about what's making you so excited in the USP3.
Well, it's the parity, it's the competitiveness. You know, last year, this year, all the time, we're always talking about the parity of this league and the competitiveness of this league, and how almost every division you go to, there's always a competition happening. Yep. You know, if a team starts to run away with it early in the season, they get caught up to real fast. We've seen teams jump 2, 3, 4 spots to make it to the 1 and 2 spot and be competitive by the end of the year. And competitive hockey, I mean, as two guys who spent a lot of time playing competitive sports when they were younger, when there's competition, it brings out the best in everybody.
That's true. And you know what I mean? We compete every day on the show. It's what makes our show so good. It's what makes both of us so good at what we do. But, you know, one thing that shows how good the USP3 has been, I have my 3 things at the beginning of the show, right, Lucas? Things 1 and 2, both dealing with USP3 teams. I mean, that's 67% of the opening. I'm pretty good at math.
That's 66.6.
We repeating, yeah, and that's a Halloween one right there, 66.6. That's a Halloween note right there from Lucas Jones, Halloween statistician Lucas Jones. But we move to the north. You know, I talked about the Jersey Shore Whalers and how good they've been, but they have a Jersey rivalry going on right now. They have the Jersey Hitmen hot on their tails, 4 points back. Jersey Shore Whalers, Jersey Hitmen. A great Hitmen program that really moves players through the ranks. A great Jersey Shore Whalers program that has been really successful the last few years, operating out of Bricktown, New Jersey. Lucas, out of these two teams, how exciting has it been to be in the state of New Jersey while these two are playing hockey?
Oh, well, it's great, especially being from Jersey. You know, and like I said, I love defense, and both of these teams are doing extremely well defensively. The Whalers giving up 34 goals, the Hitmen giving up 37. The thing that sets the Whalers apart right now is their offense.
That's right.
You know, and we talked last week a little bit about the Hitmen being feared when you go to the Ice Vault Arena. But I think if the Hitmen can fix whatever is not necessarily wrong with their offense, but if they can jumpstart, give a little boost to that offensive production, I think they're going to stay hot on the Whalers' trail all season.
And, you know, we moved to the south, and you got the Carolina Eagles, a team that just followed me on Twitter, so you know they know what they're doing. They have it all together. The Charlotte Rush, who have been following me for years on Twitter, another team who knows what they're doing. And they're both hot on the chase to find those Florida Junior Blades that we talked about at the Open. 15-0 with goaltender Fabio Meyer at 8-0. They are a dominant force. They have not even come close to losing a game yet. They have been dominant of this league. But it shows you just how much parity there really is. For there to be a team that's 15-0, you're thinking at this point, wow, they must have a huge lead, right, Lucas? Mm-hmm. 3 games separate them from the Eagles and the Rush. Just how good is the South, and just how deep does it go when you get into teams like the Junior Knights, the Richmond Generals, and you still have the Hampton Roads Whalers and the Florida Eels, who are both near championship teams. The Whalers who won the championship in USP3, and the Eels who made it to it. The Whalers who made it to the championship, the Eels who are in the semifinals. I don't want to misquote. The Whalers won the elite. But talk about just the depth in this South in USP3.
Well, you know, we talk about how the Eagles and the Rush are within striking distance, but in reality, you've got teams like you mentioned, the Junior Knights, the Generals, and playoff championship teams like the Whalers and the Eels that are right there. You know, it's not wouldn't be unheard of for any of those teams to end this season in first place. And back to, I think, the Eagles and the Rush. You know, what's keeping them where they are right now is their offensive production, and it's the flip side of what we see in the North. Their defense is, I think, what is keeping them from overtaking the Florida Junior Blades. So that and the Junior Blades not losing a game.
Well, and you look at the Hampton Roads Whalers, right? I look at this team just because of how good this organization is. 6th place, they have a 20-plus goal differential. Mm-hmm. They're still that good. There's still that much depth. There's a 6th place team who's winning by a total of 20 points. It is a great league. It shows just how much talent is flocking to the USPHL, especially in this USP3 division. This is the division that's hot right now, and it's the division to get into. And with that in mind, we move to the Midwest USP3, which this year we saw that split. Last year it was all Midwest teams were in the USP3. This year you have the Elite and the USP3. 2 teams that are heading that league up, the Motor City Hawks, Traverse City North Stars. I'll just talk about Motor City Hawks for a second. I met Jason McCrimmon last year. I met Justin Sessions, who's their star athlete out there. These 2 guys, they know what they're doing. They're leading this team. Justin is a leader in the locker room. He is a great athlete, a great presence on the ice, and a player that I know that whole team flocks behind, Lucas. And there's just a lot of good things happening out there with the owner, Mr. Gilman, and Coach McCrimmon. I mean, they know what they're doing with the Motor City Hawks. How good's the Midwest this year in USP3?
Oh, it's great. You know, whenever you have a division that has a team tied for first place with the 3rd place team only 3 points behind the 2 of them, I mean, you're talking about a league that's going to be ultra competitive from day 1 to the last game of the season. We saw it in the Midwest last year, too.
Yep.
There's a lot of competition that goes up, and these guys are fired up. You know, you see it when you watch the Fast Hockey streams, when you even follow their Twitter accounts.
Yep.
They're fired up. They're not afraid to take a couple of shots because every single team wants to win. And, you know, we have the score sheets up in front of us, and the defense.
Yeah.
The defense is so good in the Midwest. You've got all of these teams who, when you look at the goals that they've scored, the totals seem low, and then you realize, oh, that's because every single team's defense is top caliber.
Want to know what was the first thing that was explained to me? I walk off the plane, right, and I land in Detroit, and I'm walking out to the game. I meet Coach McCrimmon of the Motor City Hawks. I meet Dan Vasquez of the Detroit Fighting Irish, and I'm in Detroit for last year's Heritage Classic, the USPHL Heritage Classic. And they look at me, and they say, do you understand what Midwest hockey is? And they're like, you Eastern boys don't know how we play out here. And they let me know that it is going to be a more physical game than I'm ready for. And oh boy, was it. These guys hit hard. They make you earn your space on the ice. And it is taking the preparation for these athletes to a whole nother level. These guys are ready to play man hockey. You know, they're ready to play adult hockey. They're ready to play college hockey. They're ready to play pro hockey when they're done at this level in this Midwest. And I know Jason McCrimmon's one of those coaches who's preaching toughness, who's preaching mental toughness and physical toughness on the ice and making a winner out there. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing it from the Traverse City North Stars as well as seeing it from the Decatur Blaze, the Alpena Flyers. You're seeing it from all the teams out here in the Midwest USP3. With that in mind, we move to the newest division in the USPHL, the Pacific, Lucas, and I'm not too shabby out there as well, I think.
No, definitely not. You've got the Eugene Generals in first, but only 3 points ahead of the Seattle Ravens, who themselves are on a 3-game win streak. So, again, you have a situation where a division is in play. And it's going to be in play, I think, for the entire season because you have a team like the Seattle Ravens who is streaky.
Yeah.
They've put a couple of nice streaks together so far. It's very early in the season, but they are a streaky team. They are very impressive. Again, looking at the score sheet here, Dan, they've only given up 13 goals the entire season. I mean, that is a team that you rely on your defense to make things happen for you.
That's right. And, you know, this league, on top of being a great league, it's got some of my favorite team names out there, like the Seattle Ravens, the Eugene Generals, the Tri-City Outlaws. I'd love to go check out a game there in the West Sound Warriors. Some of the best names in the biz, probably some of the best merch. That's the kind of merch I'm looking for. I'm looking for some cool USP3 merch. Some of the best names in junior hockey. But, I mean, the USP3, Lucas, do you have a team that you think is your go-to team in the USP3? Because right now, for me, I think it's that Florida Junior Blade squad. I think that's a squad I go with in the USP3. I think they have the goaltending, and they have just a flurry of offensive talent that can get the job done.
And, you know, my first thought is to agree with you, Dan. But I think another team to at least stay on the lookout for, especially as when you're playoff time, is the Eugene Generals.
Yeah.
You know, it's a new division. We know that. But at the same time, they're putting on a really, really impressive show in this first sort of half of the season. And I would not be surprised if come playoff time, they sort of make a play at the Florida Junior Blades. And they start looking at some film, they start getting things together. And you know what, Dan? I have a feeling that while you may be right, I think I also might be right here. I think we might be looking at the rare case where we're both right.
You may be right. I may be crazy. It just may be a hockey pick you're looking for. That's a Billy Joel reference since he's dressed like a rock star. And I'm always a rock star each and every day of my life. And we'll keep being rock stars. We'll keep rocking out. We may both be right, but most likely Lucas is wrong and I'm right because that's how things usually shape out. On the Dan K Show, Lucas, moving to the empty net. We got Beantown coming up. We've got new followers. We've got teams following us. We had people liking my predictions this weekend. I went on Twitter, and I'll be doing that now going forward through the rest of the year, making my weekend predictions, making my rounds throughout the league schedules, picking my games of the week, putting GIFs.
How are you gonna
not GIFs.
How are you going to be posting
GIFs.
jars of peanut butter to the internet, Dan?
GIFs. They are GIFs. The owner of GIFs, the creator of GIFs, called them GIFs. They are GIFs. I will be putting them on Twitter, and I will be entertaining the masses via social media. So make sure you keep tweeting to us. Lucas, Beantown coming up. What should people be looking out for?
Well, if they're watching at home on Fast Hockey, look out for some competitive hockey. A whole bunch of teams around the league. And keep a lookout, well, I should say, keep an ear out for our voices. We may or may not be on a game. That'll be a surprise that you'll have to tune in to find out. As for people who are going to the Beantown Classic, keep a lookout for these two ugly mugs because we'll be roaming around, getting some interviews, some player reactions, and filming a live Dan K show.
We may just ask you to get on air with us. If you want to get on air, come up to us, tell us you're watching, tell us you saw this point in the show, and we will put you on the show everybody gets on the show who wants to be on the show this week at the Beantown Classic. You better be there. We're going to be there. And you better keep watching the Dan K Show. Lucas, parting words for this week's episode. Again, Lucas, eloquent, well-read, and well done. Lucas Jones said it better than I could ever say it myself. And with that in mind, we tell you to keep watching yet again. We remind you, keep watching, keep watching, keep watching. And keep tweeting, keep talking, and keep following at Dan Kemchek and at LJones1138. That's a little bit more difficult to remember than at Dan Kemchek, but what isn't difficult to remember is when Dan K is on the mic, it's always hockey night. Keep watching and keep cheering USPHL.
It's going to be real awkward if we don't get on a game now.
I mean, if we didn't get on a game, that would be bad, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Want to know what else would be bad?
What?
If I put the monkey mask back on?
I hate that mask. I'm going to burn it.
You're not going to burn the mask, it's rubber.
Oh, definitely. Rubber burns.
Can you burn rubber?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, like, you can burn rubber when you drive a car, but that's more of a figure of speech.
Right. Well, if you soak it in enough gasoline, you can burn anything.
That's a scary statement. It's probably the scariest thing you said. I mean, it's good. It's a Halloween episode.
Yeah, no, that's a true fact. If you soak it in enough gasoline, you can burn anything.
You want to know who else thinks that's funny?
Who?